Last time we have already seen that the alternation of generations in organisms, that is, what is alternation of generation? Alternation of generation is nothing but the two generations in the life cycle come alternate with each other, that is sporophytic generation, then gametophytic generation regularly come in the life cycle. That type of life cycle is called alternation of generations. Then some other types of life cycles, that is haplontic, diplontic and haplodiplontic. Which type of life cycle is called the haplontic type of life cycle? Haplontic life cycle, here the mitosis occurs in haploid cells. Mitosis occurs in haploid cells. These produces the multicellular organisms. Then that is results in the formation of single haploid cells or multicellular organisms. These forms produce the gametes. Multicellular organism, they produce the gametes. Spores are formed by meiosis, and then these gametes fuse to each other, that is fertilization takes place. After the fertilization, zygote is formed. Here zygote is a diploid phase. In the life cycle, there is the haplontic phases, that is zygote, then spores are formed. Means in the life cycle, the dominant phases are the haploid phases. Hence, the life cycle is called haplontic type of life cycle. In the life cycle, the haplontic phases are more. Then such type of life cycle is called the haplontic type of life cycle. This life cycle is found in algae, fungi, some algae and fungi, like that of the lower organisms. Then another type, that is diplontic type of life cycle. In the diplontic type of life cycle, here mitosis divides occurs only in diploid cells. Mitosis occurs and the diploid cells gametes form through meiosis are haploid in nature. The diploid zygote is divided mitotically. Here diploid organism produces the gametes, and these gametes fuse to each other, that is fertilization is occur. Fertilization takes place. Gametes are formed by meiosis. Here diploid organism, multicellular organism, it is diploid. They produce the gametes by meiosis. Then these gametes fuse, called the fertilization. After fertilization, the zygote is formed. Zygote is diploid. Then it divides mitotically and the multicellular organism is formed. In this such type of life cycle, there is dominant phases, that is diploid. Dominant phases is diploid. Hence, the life cycle is called diplontic type of life cycle. अशा प्रकारच्या लाईफ सायकलला डिप्लॉन्टिक टाइप ऑफ लाईफ सायकल असं म्हणतात. कारण का, तर या लाईफ सायकलमध्ये जास्तीत जास्त स्टेप्स ज्या आहेत, या डॉमिनंट स्टेप ज्या आहेत, या डिप्लॉइड असतात. अँड हॅप्लॉइड स्टेज आर less as compared to diploid phases. Here in the haplontic type of life cycle, या लाईफ सायकलच्या प्रकारामध्ये देखील मेजॉरिटी ऑफ द फेजेस आर हॅप्लॉइड. म्हणून या प्रकारच्या लाईफ सायकलला हॅप्लॉन्टिक टाईप ऑफ लाईफ सायकल असं म्हणतात. डिप्लॉन्टिक लाईफ सायकल, हॅप्लॉन्टिक लाईफ सायकल ओनली मल्टीसेल्युलर ऑर्गॅनिझम इज डिप्लॉइड. Then third type of life cycle, that is haplodiploidic. Haplodiploidic, in this life cycle, here mitosis occur in both diploid and haploid cells. These organisms undergo in a phases. Multicellular haploid organism produces the spores by meiosis. And these spores, again, from these spores, the diploid organism is developed. Such a type of life cycle is found in plants and algae. Some plants, that is like that of the bryophytes, the spore germinates and produce the diploid organism. Then the diploid organism produces the spores, gametes. फर्टिलायझेशन इज टेक्स प्लेस. याच्यामध्ये देखील हॅप्लोडिप्लॉइडिक लाईफ सायकलमध्ये दोन्हीही हॅप्लॉइड फेजेस अँड डिप्लॉइड फेजेस हे समान असतात. म्हणजे यामध्ये कोणत्याही प्रकारची फेज, एक फेज डॉमिनंट नाही, तर त्यात इक्वल अमाऊंटमध्ये, इक्वल सारख्याच असतात. हॅप्लॉन्टिक फेजेस, देर इज अ 2 हॅप्लॉन्टिक फेजेस. डिप्लॉन्टिक फेजेस, देर इज अ 2 डिप्लॉन्टिक फेजेस. म्हणून अशा प्रकारच्या लाईफ सायकलला हॅप्लोडिप्लॉन्टिक टाईप ऑफ लाईफ सायकल असं म्हणतात. ही जी या लाईफ सायकलमध्ये हॅप्लॉइड गॅमेट्स, ऑर्गॅनिझम, दे प्रोड्यूस दी स्पोर्स बाय meiosis. These spores get germinates and produce the diploid organism. Then these diploid organism produces the gametes. Here also meiosis is occur and gametes are formed. These gametes fuse to each other, that is the process is fertilization. Then after the fertilization zygote is formed. The zygote is diploid. आणि मग हा zygote diploid, here mitosis is occur. Mitosis, and the haploid organism is developed. Such type of life cycle is called haplodiplontic type of life cycle, because haploid phases and diploid phases are equal. 2 diploid phases, 2 haploid phases. म्हणून या लाईफ सायकलला हॅप्लोडिप्लॉन्टिक टाईप ऑफ लाईफ सायकल असं म्हणतात. अंडरस्टँड? Okay, thank you.